Shalom, good afternoon. Phil Blazer here with you. Avi Toledano will be in concert just about 2 weeks from now, actually a week from next Saturday evening, October 1st. We're putting that concert on for you, and he's going to sing a song in English in just a few minutes. In addition to that, Meyer Denn will talk to us about Jewish genealogy, discovering your roots. We'll go softball. And in addition to that, on top of everything else, you'll meet some of the wonderful people who are supporting the American Congress of Jewish Survivors. Stay tuned. Radio station for Southern California. Well, we're back again for visit number 3. Meyer Denn, our in-house genealogist now, who first visited with us to tell us about how you get to your roots, how you discover where you came from, whether it be a small shtetl in Poland or a Gubernia area in Russia. Mayor, welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
Second visit is, I gave you a challenge the first visit to come back and see if you could dig something up on my family, because I knew nothing even about my grandfather. You brought back his birth certificate from 1872, which kind of threw a shockwave in through my family. They were really excited about that.
Yeah, well, your family seems to be a treasure trove of information, because upon digging a little further, you know, we realized in 1872 your grandfather was born,
right.
Pinchas Bluzer, and upon digging further in the documentation that's available for the town of Krasnobrod, which was in Russian Poland, I found that all the records going back to 1826 for the Jewish community of Krasnobrod are in existence, and prior to that, the records of the Jews and the non-Jews are mixed together, going back to 1808. So just digging...
Let's interject, Mayor, before people haven't watched the first and second visit of yours, that this information you've gathered is located where?
This information is located at the Mormon Genealogical Library, which is the Family History Center on Santa Monica Boulevard in West LA.
And before we get into my family, let me ask you this question, which comes up when people hear that all these documents that you've dug up on my family, and obviously on tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of other families, are available in microfilm at the Mormon Church. Why does the Mormon religion, the Mormon Church, involved in this?
Okay, first of all, let me tell you, the Mormon Church in Salt Lake City is the largest genealogical library or facility in the world. The one on Santa Monica Boulevard is the second largest in the world. Now, whatever is available in Salt Lake City, one can order from the facility on Santa Monica Boulevard. Now, that's the first thing. Second thing is, it's part of the Mormon Church, the ideology of the church, that one can be accepted into the, or sealed into the church after death, baptized into the church. Therefore, it's incumbent upon Mormons, Latter-day Saints, to do their genealogies, so that their families, as far back as possible, can be entered into the church records, so they can be accepted into the kingdom of heaven. I'm not by any means an expert on Mormon ideology, but that's my understanding of the reason why. Therefore, they go to every country in the world that they possibly can get access to, and copy all of the vital records, any types of records they can get their hands on. Therefore, someone who is from Taiwan that wants to convert to Mormonism, they have access to those records from Taiwan, so they can do their own genealogical research. Someone from Morocco or wherever it is in the world, the Mormons are there as we speak, microfilming records.
Now, when I gave you this challenge, I guess unbeknownst to myself, I was lucky, because my family, at least this side of the family that you delve into, my father's father, comes from a town in Poland where the records were preserved. That's not the case in every case, is it?
That's correct. And another thing, people have a misconception. You don't go to the Mormon library and find your family tree there. That's not the way it is. You might gain access to vital records, which they've copied, which is raw data, raw documents in the native language. Don't expect to go there and read these documents in English. They're going to be in Polish or in Russian or in Hungarian or whatever the native tongue of that country at the time was, which, as you know, the documents I gave you before were in Russian, because it was after there was an uprising in 1868, and prior to that time all the records were in Polish. But in 1868, when they had the uprising, the Russians who controlled that area said, okay, now you're going to keep those records in Russian from now on. And that continued until 1917, where it reverted back to Polish.
And I might add, I learned in the last few months, since you gave me these documents, that you yourself must be highly trained into this, because if I give these documents that are in Russian, for example, to a Russian, he or she can barely read it because they tell me it's classical Russian. It's a Russian that is Old Russian.
Right. And Polish also, by the way, these documents aren't, most of the time they are not on a form where they just filled in names. These documents are written in longhand, and they use the old Russian, the old Polish, for example. Instead of saying Żyd for Jew, they say Stare Zakony, which means a believer in the old book, which is a euphemism for the word Jew.
So Mayor, you really have to be a student of genealogy, of these languages, of the form.
You have to know what you're looking for. You have to be able to read the type of script, and in addition to that, you have to know where the town is, which I'm going to tell you a little bit later on, how you go about locating the village of the town where your family comes from. And you may have thought your family lives in Russia, was from Russia. Turns out today it's in Poland. And you have to know these things in order to gain access to these documents.
Let's take a break now then, and then Mayor will come back and you give me some insight. You've got some more information. You've already given us some ideas of some dates on your research in my family. We'll be right back. Meyer Denn is our guest. A lifetime. California loves Israel. So Mayor, you've told me about this before, so I'm not totally shocked, but I really don't know all the intricacies because you faxed this information to my office. But tell me, what else have you found out prior to my grandfather's birth certificate, which you dug up, which was in Russian? What else have you been able to locate?
If you recall, let's back up a little bit. The first document you gave me was a declaration of intention that your grandfather filed in St. Paul, Minnesota, around 1925.
Which I had.
Which you had.
Right.
You had said your grandfather came from the town of Zamość, which I was familiar with because my family is also from the Lublin area where Zamość is a part. Looking at the document, we found that he wasn't from Zamość, but he was from a town called Krasnybruk, which was the Yiddish way of pronouncing the town of Krasnobrod, which just so happens that my great-grandparents also came from that village, that shtetl. So I knew that I could get my hands on those records, that I had seen the records. Upon doing research at the library, we located as you mentioned before, the birth certificate for Pinchas Bluser. From that record, we found that he was born, not only found out that he was born in 1872 on July the 15th, we found out the name of his father was Joseph Bluser, who at the time was 22 years of age, and his mother's name was Perl, who came from the family Spiesseisen, which you didn't know at the time. Now, upon doing further research, we knew at the time that, for example, Perl was 22 years old in the year 1872. So we go back approximately 22 years to the year 1850, and we looked at the records there. Turns out in the year finally, in 1848, I found a record from the Jew, let's see, what is the name here? Kiva. So it's Akiva, but it was written here, Kiva Spiesseisen, who was living in Krasnobrod. He at the time was age 23 years old. So again, this is 1848, so you can figure, again, 30, 28, 25, 1825 approximately, Kiva would have been born. So he's the father. And the mother we see here, the child is born in the morning at 8 in the morning on that day in 1848. The mother's name is Dvoira, from the family Landsman. She was 22 years old. And again, the child's name is Pearl. So this is the birth certificate of your great-grandmother.
Now, what if my family would have come from Warsaw or from Moscow or some bigger city or Vienna? Likely that the records would still be in existence?
For Warsaw, yes. Moscow, I can't tell you. I haven't been able to get access to those records yet. But certainly from Warsaw, yeah, we have a good list of records from Warsaw. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you, I want to go into that in just one second. I want you to see that on this document, though, is the signature in Yiddish of your great-great-grandfather. So it's really quite a gold mine. I want to give you these.
Thanks, man. It's really special, you know, when you can. Up to just a few months ago when I first met you, again, just to repeat, had no idea of my father would have given anything to know this information. And I think it's very important for people to have it if they can get it. And I think a lot of our viewers probably aren't aware of the fact that there is a possibility that they can know more about their family, and to have they just can't walk into the Mormon church or just say, you really, again, just to repeat, I really am a great admirer of you, because as I show these documents to people who speak Russian or Polish, they can't read them, so you really have to be learned. And I give you a lot of credit for that. Again, Mayor, thanks. We're going to have you back again a little later. perhaps a month or two down the road. Keep us posted on the topic of Jewish genealogy. It's so fascinating and so rewarding for those of us who have a chance to be touched by someone like yourself who really can give us that information, because it's totally impossible for someone that's not learned like you to do it. Thanks again, and good holidays to you.
Thank you. Thank you to all your viewers.
Phil Blazer with FM 100.